Sunday, the 30th of June, was designated County Cricket Day, which I think we can all agree is a great initiative. So, joining me to talk about the success and the achievements of this fantastic idea is Richard Clarke.
Hi, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm good. So, County Cricket Day, everyone came together. Just looking at it, I mean, this was an initiative which was unashamedly taken from football, where we had a non-league day in football, and a group of people, fans, I should say, not the counties, fans came together to drive this. It can only be a good thing.
Absolutely. I mean, it's not a new idea. No one's claiming particular ownership of this. I mean, I think you guys know I've got a big background in US sports, and I lived over there and was part of the fan engagement team at a major league soccer club. And yeah, we had Fish Taco night. We had military appreciation night. We had Star Wars night. It wasn't on May the 4th. So these things exist as part of fan engagement, but non-league football day has been seen as quite a success, and it's positioned in one of those first international breaks where the Premier League isn't playing, and it's been going for a few years, and it just shines a light on non-league football. And this was pretty much the same thing, except using one of the Sundays of those two rounds of championship games in the middle of the season, pretty much the only championship red ball cricket domestically in high summer. And from what I gather, I had a bit of communication with the Twitter feed that was running it. I wrote about it for the cricket paper. It seemed to be a relatively cobbled together thing. I don't think they planned it too much ahead of time. Surrey, of course, were doing their own Red Bull Festival, and Leicestershire had their scheme going as well. I think there was free entry involved at Leicestershire as well. So a few organizations, a few counties had the same idea, but it was a good thing. It's just a good thing. It just shines a light and allows us to celebrate something that hasn't had a light shone on it for various reasons. And what struck me is it's a really simple idea. It's relatively last minute, but the enthusiasm was so great. It clearly touched a nerve that people were looking to celebrate this red ball domestic cricket because they know it's an endangered species. So yeah, totally good thing, and I just loved my small involvement.
Yeah, it's something that I've seen going on at club level for quite a long time. I was a bit surprised it's taken this long, but I'm guessing it's because the alarm bells are ringing at county cricket. But I mean, for example, on Saturday night, I was at Brentwood Cricket Club when they were having a Caribbean festival. And following on from the games that have been played at the club that day, a steel band, a DJ, there was food, and everyone was encouraged to dress up. And it was a huge attack. I think they sold 150 tickets for the evening's events, which was fantastic for a club like that. But I've also seen at other clubs down the years, Hawaiian shirt nights, burger festivals, pizza nights, all this kind of stuff, which are always well attended. I don't know why counties haven't really picked up on this as just, you know, fan engagement or member engagement or whatever to bolster the audience.
I think there's a few things going on there. Firstly, I think overall counties are still behind the times in terms of fan engagement. I think they've dramatically improved. And I think one of the things that has helped them improve, funnily enough, is the tournament that shall not be
Yeah,
named.
yeah. The one
It's
thing
one
it
of the,
has done well, yeah.
it's kicked them a little bit to improve what they do. But remember that county cricket organisations are not big. There's not that many staff, and it's difficult to do these things in any professional way, given that the expectation now is that fan engagement will be of kind of a Premier League level. For example, my daughter is going to Taylor Swift in a couple of weeks, right? And that will be a full-on event. And that's kind of what we from professional sport, that's the standard they're trying to get to. If you look at professional football, it compares itself with the standards of tourism in terms of its customer care these days. Well, county cricket can't do that. So um, it can do it in its own sort of homespun way, and that's kind of what happened on County Cricket Day. So yeah, it's been late coming, but hopefully it can evolve quite quickly. I mean, there weren't any um, uh, cheap prices, for example, or food items like you spoke about, specifically related to County Cricket Day. As I say, Surrey were doing something, Leicestershire were doing something as well. But also the date that they were chosen, well, you had Lancashire playing at Southport, you had Derbyshire playing at Chesterfield, and these are lovely, lovely grounds. And outgrounds as well that people enjoy. So I would think, hopefully, having seen the enthusiasm, I'm hoping that clubs and fans can work together. And next year, we've got something that evolves quite quickly in that area of cheaper prices, co promotion, maybe food items, maybe clubs and fans working just that little bit closer in harmony for a mutual end. And that's what we need, because county cricket isn't strong enough to have any division across it.
Another good thing that I've noticed this week on County Cricket Matters Facebook page, there was some photos of um, Somerset and what they were doing and interacting with local schools. And there were 1,300 kids playing on the outfield at, I'm assuming it was Taunton, on Monday. I mean, that was after County Cricket Day. But again, that's the kind of thing we want, is go directly to local schools, invite them down, initiatives with local clubs, cult sections, and get the kids down. The only question I would have, and I didn't ask it on the forum, was what kind of schools are they engaging with?
Well,
Because
there
the
is that. There is that. Yes, as you know, I am very concerned about the 93% of this country that goes to state schools rather than the 7% that goes to public schools. And I
yeah,
feel that
exactly.
they dominate cricket far too much. Funny enough, I was at the Oval on Sunday with my daughter, took my daughter down, but I was also there on the Monday when they had a ton of schools in. And where Surrey is outstanding is their desire to get you on that pitch, particularly at lunchtime, but also during tea. And I've always said that this is a unique aspect of county cricket. No other sport, no other major sport in the world allows you to come on at the break and play your own version of the game on the same pitch. And for a kid, that is the biggest selling point. You can do anything you want, but the kids want to run around on the pitch. Unfortunately, on Monday, it was a bit too wet for the kids to do it, but they were shouting in the crowd and they were trying to get autographs, and all the players from both sides, I've got to say, were particularly good. And that's another thing about county cricket. You can go and have a chat with the fielder on the boundary, go and ask their autograph, and they see it as part of their job to do that. I went to a T20 recently, and there wasn't enough engagement from it was at Essex, actually. It wasn't organized in the way that the kids could get enough autographs and selfies and things. I would see it as a KPI, key performance indicator of a T20 night to ensure we get selfies with kids and players. That should be as important as bar takings, and that should be as important as winning the game, in my opinion, because that is the future of the game. And that is, in my day, it was autographs.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
that's fine. Now it's selfies, right? You want that sort of stuff. And these are things where county cricket, and actually the championship is stronger than the T20, because you get on the pitch, you can talk to the players during the game, get their autographs. That stuff is critical. And county cricket, I wrote some on my newsletter. I wrote some ideas about at the start of the season about how to engage fans, and one of the things I talked about was state schools and how to engage them, but not just leave them in the stand, let them to shout a bit, give them 4 and 6 things to get signed, get them autographs and get them on the pitch. No, something a bit more developed than that, where you're connecting the club with the school or the class. That just takes more doing. And yet again, goes back to my point about it's hard for counties to do that because they don't literally have the staff and the time, albeit there's an opportunity there given the homespun nature of county cricket.
Yeah, that's something that I was trying to do when I was chairman at Billericay, was actively engage with local schools and local schoolmasters to come down and use the club as a facility for just games lessons, particularly in the summertime, and kind of that bridge that gap, or volunteers, whatever else, because you get the school teachers to come down and be responsible for everything. We would just open the gate and say, "Look, away you go." And I mean, that's still an ongoing project. One thing that does interest me on this whole thing is where these things have been successful. The Blast did it when it was first sort of got going and got up ahead of steam before the 100 came along, and the 100 kind of went in a different direction. But taking the view that if you want youngsters there, you need pyrotechnics, you need loud music, you need atmosphere. Um, to me, those are the kind of things that rub up traditional county members the wrong way. You know, you and I go to a lot of county cricket, and there is always the same sort of demographic that's there enjoying the game, and they want it to be in near silence, polite applause, very, very little shouting or cheering or anything like that. But if we're assuming that we want to get youngsters in, that you have to take a different direction, is that going to sit well with the traditional cricket fans' view of the game?
My opinion is if you love county cricket and you watch a lot of championship cricket like I do, and that's your favourite format, you're going to watch a lot of games in that sort of atmosphere that you've described. If you love the game and you cannot handle a few days in high summer when you've got a load of kids in, being shrill, making some noise, getting on the pitch, because you know that's the future of the game. If you can't handle that, then you're a selfish so and so.
Yeah.
Right? Everyone who's loved county cricket or cricket in general has been taught by someone or infused by someone who has done it for the love of the game. Be that a coach, be that a parent, be that a teacher teaching after school when they're not paid to, or whatever it is. So this is I'll push back against the grumblers of county cricket if they push back against 1 or 2 days a year where you've got the kids in. That's the future of the game, and just get on with it and adapt to it. You know, I would be saying to the membership, look, we're going to have the kids in. These are one of those days. I would adapt all sorts of things to make those kids have a good experience. I've said before, for 50 over games, I would make the break an hour. I would make the break an hour because that's the highlight for a lot of the kids to get on the pitch. That's the bit. That's the bit they want. Obviously, it's not going on these days during the school holidays, but county cricket has to be aware that the 60, 70 year olds that are watching the game, they could be the last generation that really support red ball cricket in any reasonable way, shape, or form, unless we sow the seeds. So put up with it. Enjoy the kids being there. I love to see them on the pitch. I was disappointed as hell that they couldn't get on Surrey on Monday. I actually waited with my friends to see, okay, look, they're going to rush on now. They're all going to rush on now and play. It's great. You know, I'm a dad, you're a dad. It's great to see the kids enthusiastic. I don't understand that cynicism, that why you would not be happy to see them in. It's not like it's every day, is it? It's only a few days during the season.
You mentioned about the 60, 70-year-old demographic that could possibly be the last supporters of the traditional Red Bull format. But what would you say to me saying, well, in 10 years' time, 40 and 50-year-olds will then be slipping into that. But do the current 40 and 50-year-olds still have the same kind of view, would you say?
I think what's lost in the debate around particularly championship cricket is they say it's just full of old people, and it is. I mean, it's played during the day for a start,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
also the cadence of it is such that it appeals to older people. And I know of many people who are not massively interested in county championship early on in their lives, but got into it later in life because their tastes change. They got a bit older. They don't want a game that is full of fireworks and hard to get into and expensive. And you got a queue here, you got a queue there. They like the idea of a big stadium or a stadium that you can walk around, uh, park relatively easily and get in. So actually, The game stays the same, but they move more towards it because of their stages of life. And there's community and there's conviviality and there's a niceness and a genteelness around it that I think appeals. But also, I think that and I've written about this quite a lot, that there's room for a quieter, gentle sport. Every sport at the moment, and I work in the areas of fan engagement and things, and everything seems to be around rev it up, hype it up, fireworks, hype, nonsense, blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. And I get it with boxing, I get it with the Premier League. But I would argue there is room for a quieter sport. Just because even in terms of it's a smaller market, but if you can dominate that smaller market, maybe that's enough to sustain a sporting product. I mean, yet again, when we go to test matches, are you going to the test or are you going to an event? Are you going to? I would argue that a lot of people go to 1 or 2 days of tests a year. It's an event. It's not just a game. It's an event. You're seeing mates. You're spending time with mates. And that's the great thing about cricket. I took a friend on Monday. He's not a championship fan, but me and there was 3 of us, and 2 of us are cricket fans, and he's less. And he's like, oh, I can handle this because the stewards aren't telling me I can't go here, I can't go there. The stewards at the Oval are very good, and he's like, yeah, this is a bit more gentle. I can sit and breathe and have a think and read the paper and wander around and go and get lunch. And if I miss a bit, if it's a long lunch and we're chatting, it's no big deal. Well, there's an appeal in that, and I would argue that's an appeal to older people, and to revel in that and be aware of that as county championship cricket. Perhaps there's something in that. Perhaps there's something in that.
But doesn't that kind of underline the fact that it's if you have it like that and it's appealing and perfect for a certain generation, if you take or if you encourage a group of 15-year-olds, for example, to go along to that, are they going to take one look and think, no, I want the razzmatazz and I want the stewards telling me this and.
And that's fine. I don't think there's any problem with that. I think if I look, I've got a son that I've tried to get into cricket, and he's not particularly interested. Okay, I'm not going to take him to a game of championship cricket. I'm going to take him to a T20, or I'm going to take him to a blast. My argument would be that is that is the gateway drug as he gets older for the championship, because you need to understand the game, because it's a complicated game, and yet again, this is something that the tournament shall not be named tries to address. There is a lack of understanding of the sport, and I do understand that, and I accept that issue. It's one. I also think that's been exacerbated by the fact that state school kids in particular don't play it, and if you play it, you understand it, and they don't see it on the telly.
No.
I don't understand. I didn't understand curling before I watched it on the Olympics. I got no idea what's going, but now I can appreciate it. For example, just one example, but I could probably choose a better example for than that. I don't know, fencing or something like that. That you only see four times every 4 years, but you'll
Well, I'll
see
chuck
it.
one in there. Wimbledon.
Well, yeah. Okay, fine. Yeah.
For 2 weeks of the year, everyone's a tennis expert and a fan and whatever else. And then when Wimbledon finishes, it disappears into the ether.
And it's been part of the strength of tennis that is retained as an event that has more general interest because it's seen by everybody on the BBC, and they've always maintained that. They've never gone anywhere else. I think some of it ended up on Sky at one point. And English cricket went a different way, and it's to its detriment. Yes, it got more money, and yes, there will be people that argue that helps sustain 18 counties, blah, blah, blah. I get all that. I think that's an argument. But I think if you look at what I push back against all these developments is it's not about the amount of money a particular innovation or change will make. It's the way it is shared out, distributed, who gets it, and whether we are supporting the long-term foundations of the game rather than going into the pockets of elite players, execs, agents, and things like that. I want to support the long-term development of cricket, and that involves getting kids in, that involves county cricket day, that involves trying to sell the sport in a way that promotes its uniqueness, its quality, and its meaning. That's what I want to do.
That's a good summary. Just to wrap up, how do we build on this? We don't want it to be once a year county cricket day. Everyone comes along and then disappears into the wilderness again. Should they be doing more regular things? Should there be much more initiatives along these lines to get people through the door?
Yeah, well, I've written about this actually. I've written about a whole load of theme days that we could potentially do. But hey, let's look at County Cricket Day for next year. Let's build on it. Let's deal with the and yet again, I'm not involved in it. I do know some people who are heavily involved in it, and my suggestions would be to make sure that the fixtures and the pricing and the promotion is correct, and make sure we do it well next year. And then if you've got proof of concept maybe next year, then you can build out from that. I also think what you can do is make sure that counties and fans are on side, and pushing towards the same thing. Because one thing that's always concerned me is the is when counties and their fans are at loggerheads.
Hmm.
And I because yet again I say that the county game isn't strong enough to sustain this. They need to work together and put some differences aside. So I would say, okay, we've had a success this year based on not a lot of planning. Next year, let's do it bigger, let's do it better. And once we, but in that period of time, start to build relationships, which can hopefully build quickly into something much better. And we can do a number of days. You know, we can do something around the 50 over, for
Yeah.
example. I mean, the 50 over is fantastic in terms of a gateway into a county, because I see a lot of granddads and grandmothers taking kids to cricket on the pitch because the parents are working in this in the
Yeah.
summer holidays, and it's a decent thing to do. Well, let's exploit that. And certainly at Essex last year, we had a couple of sellouts
Mm.
for the 50 over. And bear in mind that this is a competition where the quote unquote elite cream of the game is gone because they're playing in another tournament. And yet, if you're taking good games out to the people, putting them on at a period of time where they want them in the sunshine, you've got a product.
Great way to end it. Richard, many, many thanks. So I'll remind everyone to subscribe to Richard's excellent county cricket newsletter, which you can just find by Googling the above, and it's the first hit you will find there. And also subscribing to Richard on social media, aka The Grumbler, for weekly and well, daily updates, really, depending on how he feels. But always good to catch up, and we'll speak soon.